Okay. So this is my first YouTube video ever, and I don't know. I just have been having a lot of feelings lately, and I felt like Facebook was probably the most unproductive place ever to be putting them. So I decided to make myself vulnerable enough to do a YouTube video, which is fine because vulnerability is actually what a lot of my feelings have been about. Um, Lately, I've been kind of obsessed with people's struggles in America and how a lot of us are, you know, kind of not admitting, um, our hardships. And I know it's really hard because we all know that we're very blessed in certain ways. But at the same time, us trying to meet a certain expectation for our lives where we think we should be because we're like comparing ourselves to people's weird like Facebook and Instagram personas. I just don't feel like it's healthy, and we are all under this assumption that we need to just be making it on our own, and therefore we're not admitting where we're having troubles in the world. And yeah, I think it's a disservice to us all because we are running away from the truth, and we are not banding together to help each other as much because none of us really know what's going on. We're not, because we're all trying to put on this face like we're perfect all the time, and we're not. And it's okay that we're not perfect all the time. Actually, our imperfections can be exactly what brings us closer together and puts the power back in our hands. Because, uh, you know, American people, we think we're really powerful, but we're sort of like we're losing things that I feel like we once had, things that I thought I was gonna have when I grew up. Being a millennial, being broke as shit all the time. I'm currently living out of my car. Uh, but anyways, so a big reason why we're not expressing our issues is because we feel shame. And then so I'll probably get more into this one day, but I was feeling particularly inspired by people who give advice kind of today because I said something on the internet about, oh, when am I going to wake up and be skinny and rich? And I thought it was funny. And then this person who's really fucking cool dude put this thing up, which was from like some life coach lady. And it was all about like everything that you do, you choose. And, it's all your choice. And you can wake up and you can like, watch dolphins in the morning and instead of drinking coffee or something or sleeping or whatever. And I was like, it was just interesting to me because I got a very familiar feeling that I generally get when I admit to people, that I'm struggling. And I'm not admitting to people that I'm struggling because I'm weak. I could hide it just as easily as I could admit it. Actually, it would be so much easier to hide it. But I don't think that that's good for the people of my community or tribe or whatever the hell you want to call it. So I'm consciously admitting my struggles because it makes me really uncomfortable to do it. And I just want to experience that uncomfortableness instead of running away from it and face it head on so I can move past whatever is keeping me in these struggles. Probably, it's probably my ego. It's probably my pride. So, anyways, I saw it and it was super like positive and happy. And I feel like if I was in a positive and happy place, I'd be like, yeah, I do make my choices and life is beautiful and but I don't know. Like for me at that moment, like, it made me feel bad about myself kind of. And it was like the opposite of its intent. And I think that, we're like in this place where everybody's like, we have so many like spiritual quotes and memes and so much yoga and like, we're always supposed to be zen or at peace or whatever the fuck. And I like positivity. I'm fucking into it. But like, like I felt like when I got that quote, it was just like it was almost like, yeah, you make all your own choices. So I think they were trying to make me feel like my own power, but at the same time it was just like, oh, but because you're struggling, there's something inherently wrong with you. Um and it actually kind of makes me think of like the Teal Swan video, "Fuck the Law of Attraction," which if you haven't watched it, you should because it's great. But I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with me. I think that I'm actually pretty strong and amazing and beautiful and adventurous. I guess maybe if you could say there's anything wrong with me, it's I'm overly adventurous. Um, but I also don't see anything wrong with a lot of my friends who are going through things. I think it's just the times, and I think we should accept that and band together. And but I guess what I wanted to get at was how I think it's interesting, this dynamic between people who like momentarily are not struggling, because we all struggle at some point, and people who are struggling, and like the advice that the non-struggling people give the struggling people, and how like super like ineffective and damaging it can be. So I think that what I want to say today is like, if you're in a really great place and the whole world makes sense to you, and all these like beautiful quotes that Siddhartha or Ram Dass or some internet meme like suddenly makes sense to you, and they're clicking together, and it's like, oh, it's also clear to me. Like, fuck yes for you. That is fucking awesome. And I hope that that like period of clarity and happiness lasts for as long as it possibly can. And I think it's really great when you try and go out and spread that energy into the world. But when you do it, I think that it's not as simple for the people who are struggling. They are struggling because they've experienced past traumas in their lives, and whatever they're experiencing now is triggering that. And so they have some really deep inherent fears in play at that moment. And you, from the outside, you cannot see those fears, and you cannot see what it is they're really dealing with. So some blanket advice of, oh, what's wrong with you? Can't you just see everything's magic and manifestation and all that jazz? Like, you're right. It is. It's magic, and there's a lot of manifestation out there, and it's a great tool. But at the same time, you're not acknowledging um, their struggle and their fears. And you have and you will have moments like these people. Like, you're gonna have fears too that you have to deal with. So as a good friend, I think it would be better to acknowledge that there's a struggle because of the fear in these people's brains. And it's not because there's anything inherently wrong with them. It's just because that's just life. And as a good friend, I think instead of just telling them that they should just have this simple answer, just take the simple answer and just run with it. Ooh. Like, be like, why do you think you can't do this? What are the fears? Help them dissect them. Help them face it. Be compassionate. That's the word, compassionate. Um, and if you're on the other side of it, and you're like feeling shitty, and some putty is like, oh, you should just blah, 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 blah. And you're like, you know what? Fuck you. Like, I have this, I have that. You don't understand. The doctor says I'm sick. Like, my car broke down. Like, I got kicked out of my house. Sound familiar? Like, manifestation is not gonna make that feel any better. And having somebody say that you should just, not acknowledge your own pain. I mean, it's bullshit. You should acknowledge it. You should acknowledge it fully. You just shouldn't dwell in it. But if your friend's like doing a shitty job at like recognizing that aspect of your life and where you're at, try not to get too upset. Um, they don't realize that you're not in a place where you can see the forest through the trees. They're asking you to be. Ooh, the webcam is crazy. I'm gonna try and use the right. They're asking. They're asking you to be like here when you're here, and like you can't jump that step. You can't jump up here when you've had bad luck. They've just had good luck. It's not your fault. Luck happens, it's just what you choose to do with it. So don't hate yourself. These things are crazy. I mean, look, clearly I'm not up here when it comes to YouTube. I'm horrible at it. I'm fucking terrified. But it's just like I'm not up here right now with anything. You may not be up here either. Maybe later today I'll feel up here. Maybe tomorrow I'll feel up here, but I never stay up here. Nobody really does, I don't think. Maybe if you're crazy or not human. I'm down here. The best thing for me personally, and the best thing for you, is to not hate yourself for not being up here. Don't let those little fucking quotes and your friends make you hate yourself for not being up here. Just try and get from here to here, and then to here, and then to here. And then you might slide back down. Just try it again. You might go back up. You might go back down. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't. We're alive. We're here to struggle. Without the struggle, we don't have the light. Whatever. It's not even like the saying, but without the light, there is no dark. You can only the sun shines brightest from the edge of a shadow. Is that how it goes? Just accept yourself for where you're at. Don't feel bad about it. And if your friends don't get it and they oversimplify your problems, try not to hate them. And if you are in a really great place and you're trying to give your friends advice, acknowledge that they're just not in the reality that you're in right now. There's nothing wrong with them. The tables will turn eventually. Help them dissect their fears. Be compassionate. Always be compassionate. Compassion, compassion, compassion. And never ever judge anybody for where they are along their journey. Never judge yourself. All right. That's my first YouTube video. Let's see where that journey begins.